Welcome to Invictus Motors. I've got an absolutely spectacular car here right behind me. This is a Mclaren 570GT. It's on a 66 plate, but as a matter of fact, first registered in 2017. And what I would be covering in this video is just the way it drives 6 years on, how it handles, performance, and overall what this car is all about. I mean, this is, some people that might have had it for 6 years, or they might be getting into one of these 6 years later, what kind of values they're at the moment selling for, mileages, and just what to expect from the overall condition, etc. This firstly has this gorgeous stealth pack with the black and white, which contrasts incredibly well. The exhaust system, as you can see, it's on both sides, and I just love how the curvature, just the overall design, and how aggressive that diffuser is, and everything sort of stacks up and holds together and just comes in incredibly well. It being a 570 GT, you actually get a rear hatch here at the back. Let me just show you this rear hatch, very handy. So this is the rear boot space that you get as a result of it being a GT, a Grand Tourer. Other changes are that the front suspension is about 15% softer, as well as the rear suspension being 10% softer, and the steering being 2% slower, just to give you a bit more of a luxury GT drive to it. And I'll actually, in the video, also do a bit of a comparison between the 570 GT and the 570S, and what kind of people buy the 70 GT, and really, is there a space out there for the 570S? Maybe that's a question I'll put out there and just discuss that throughout the review. And it also has another space at the front here with a lot of boot space here, and you've got the fire extinguisher, so you can put probably 2 medium-sized suitcases right in here, so within some additional space. It's finished in this, again, gorgeous white with stealth back that you find. It's not really black, it's almost like a very dark grey. I think it contrasts really well. And this whole back end being all glass, sorry, the roof being glass, this being glass, and that front being glass, I would normally kind of compare this to what you would find on the 911 Targas from the 90s until 2012, with it having this gorgeous sloping Targa roof there at the top. And now to open the doors, just got to press a button there, that window drops, and just gently slide it up. I mean, this has a carbon tub, carbon doors, so you've got to be extra careful. And now on the inside, straight away you're welcomed by this flat bottom steering wheel, and you've got carbon here on the steering wheel, carbon here, and you've got carbon here around the Bauer and Wilkinson speaker system, and you can see part of that speaker system right there at the top. You've got extended leather with contrast stitching here, and you've got this sort of black and white interior, which I think works incredibly well. Something like this, we need to just get into it now, drive it, take it out for a spin, tell you a little bit about what it's like to kind of hold, and what you expect in terms of the grip and the overall hold, the quality, and everything to be expected out of Mclaren. I mean, this is the second Mclaren that we've had in the past year in stock, and I'm absolutely blown away by these cars. And I know people question just the quality or the build quality of these, but I've got to say, so far my experience of them has been absolutely top notch. Other than the servicing, and in terms of any sort of major maintenance work, you can get all of that from Mclaren, but this had a suspension overhaul in the, I think, last service, which was under warranty. Let me just get into it now, just to kind of explain you how you sort of get into it first. So left leg goes first in, slides in, and the rest of the body comes in, and the door shuts quite softly, quite easily, and once it's closed, voila, you're into this cockpit. And if you press start, the dash turns on, and I'll press the start engine button. What an amazing sound it produces. And I guess naturally the spec you would expect out of a kind of a GT luxury pack, this has everything thrown at it: heated seats, multifunctional sort of 18-way adjustable seats. They're heated, they've got lumbar support, you've got Bluetooth connectivity, and you've also got a rear view camera. So it kind of ticks off everything you need from that side of, just the everyday things you would expect. It's got Mclaren warranty until February 2024. So you can buy this with total peace of mind. And the next service is also due in February 2024. We'll put a fresh 12 months MOT on it. That's if you are considering to buy one of this. But if you're just watching the review, just so you know, I'm actually showing you around the car, going to show the paperwork at the end of the video to kind of give you an honest overview of what to expect out of this McLaren. So why don't you actually go to the back? I'm going to rev that engine a bit so you can hear what it sounds like. This is the view that you actually get with the reverse camera, and you get this yellow and red diagram. And you get these parking sensors that actually beep at you when you get a bit too close to something. On that cold start, you probably saw all that white smoke coming in. That is because I'm trying to do this, replicate the same thing, but I'm actually inside the car. That's because it's incredibly cold, and just when what's emitting out of you, even in this cold, and what the outside temperature is, you get this kind of condensation and this white smoke. But the engine is absolutely spot on, perfect. It's got the 7-speed SSG, the seamless shift dual clutch transmission, a bit like what you would expect on the Porsche 911 in terms of the PDK gearbox. Now, just being here in this cockpit, the seats are super comfortable. They're also heated seats as well, so I'll go in, just illustrate to you how to turn on the heated seats just by pressing the climate control button. Heated seats are turned on. Even this road that we are on, that's leading up to our premises, it feels very comfortable to drive it. You know, this is like a proper countryside B road, or a road leading up to a farm that you normally find. This right now that you heard is saying that the front left tire pressure has dropped, or O is 0.2 bars below what the other tires are. That's just because it's cold and tire pressure can drop, especially when this, since its last service in February 2023, it's only done, I think, 400 or 500 miles. So it's been barely driven since its last service. And it's had its warranty also extended. And right now it's done, I think, 27,940 miles. Again, it just goes to show that not many people drive these every day. But overall, 28,000 miles for a car that is 6 years old, you know, 5,000 miles per year, still not bad for a car that's a second car, that's a hobby car for most people. But if someone wanted to daily one of these, absolutely, you know, you can daily it. You shouldn't be afraid from driving this. Now, in terms of the performance figures, it's mind-blowingly phenomenal with what you get from the 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine. And just BHP alone, you're looking at 562 brake horsepower, 600 Newton meters of torque, the 0 to 62 miles per hour possible in 3.4 seconds, and the top speed of 200 miles per hour. I mean, we're talking GT3 RS, the 991.1 GT3 RS equivalent performance, but in a Mclaren 570 GT Grand Tourer, a luxury car that you could take anywhere, drive anywhere. And to me, that is kudos to McLaren for building a product like this. And this being the 570 GT, you've got the 570S, which I will actually do a bit of a comparison between the 570 GT and the 570S, and you've also got the 570 Spider. This, in terms of a road car from McLaren, this series, the 570, has been the best-selling series out of the road production in terms of cars that they've been doing now, going back to, I think, the 90s. The roads are a bit damp and wet. What I don't want to do is to be pushing this hard to prove any sort of a point here in the video. I'll actually drop it a gear through the pedal shifts there, the carbon pedal shifts. You've got the minus and the plus there, 4th gear. third. Not sure how much you could hear at the other end on video, but it sounds good. It sounds really good. It's the feedback that you want. It's not too excessive and it's neither too subtle. It's just the perfect amount of feedback that you get from the exhaust system. And at the same time, I'm driving in just normal mode, both for the powertrain and both for the transmission. So I've not pressed the active button to put in sports mode to stiffen any of the suspension or the handling or the power, or the transmission, whereby the transmission will hold the gears just so that it allows you to just ride each gear to I wouldn't say to its limit, but to some capacity. So the 570 and the 570S and the 570 GT, some of the differences are one of them being that hatch that I opened up right at the beginning of the video, and you get this rear space there at the back to put some luggage, some probably gym bags, etc. If you've had a 997.2 or .1 or a 996 or a 993 Targa, any of these Targas from the 90s, the Porsche 911 Targas from the 90s to 2012, they had that glass roof and a glass hatch at the back. I mean, that's the kind of access you get, so it's still fairly practical. So these, what I would say, are like just sort of any big exterior changes, and obviously having that hatch meant that the rear back is just nice and slope from a silhouette point of view quite beautifully, whereas on the 570 GT you don't have this. What you've got is just a tin, and at the back a tin. Yeah, slight aggressive lines there at the back, but I would take this any day of the week over the 570S tin roof. Additionally, the front suspension is 15% softer, the rear suspension being 10% softer. You've got the steering wheel feeling 2% slower. Again, these are not big, huge, remarkable changes that one should be, concerned about. Oh, do I really take the 570 GT or do I take the 570S? If you've got the options to buy the 570 GT, you buy the 570 GT any day of the week. As a matter of fact, Chris Harris on Top Gear on one of the BBC episodes takes the 570 GT out for a drive, and he basically said, okay, the 570 Spider being a convertible, yes, okay, great, brilliant. No doubt, it's solidified its position. And the 570 GT being the GT, the Grand Tourer, you get these kind of aspects that we talked about. Really, there isn't space for the 570S. It's out there for maybe to satisfy some purists. This being the 570 GT, as a matter of fact, costs £10,000 more. And then you add in some of the extra optional items, I think this probably came out spec-wise at about 20 to 25 grand. What I would like to cover in this next segment of this video is what does the active button do, and just basically putting it in sports mode and changing the way this is meant to drive like, and just giving it a bit of beans. Nothing too excessive, so I'm going to go ahead, press active, sports handling and sports powertrain, they're on. And this is to the national speed limit on these countryside roads in no time. When they say not to 62 miles per hour in 4.3 seconds, McLaren mean it. And I'll actually just drop a gear, drop to second. It just becomes unlike a GT car. But to be completely honest with you, for me, something like this is already a statement car. And as I said right at the beginning of my video, that yeah, the McLarens are gorgeous, beautiful, and I think people really appreciate them for what they are. But I do think you don't get the sort of a treatment that is normally, forwarded towards Ferrari drivers when you're in a McLaren. And because they're just these McLarens, I think they're just a work of art. That's the best way to describe them. I've done previously a comparison video whether you should buy a 911 Turbo S or a Mclaren 570. And I think if you're somebody that needs that extra 2 seats, then the argument is settled. You would go with a 911. But how often does anyone use the extra 2 seats at the back? Or who wants to be crammed into a car like this? And if you can actually afford one of these, I'm sure you can afford a run-around Volvo XC90. Not knocking that about, but it's a family choice for most. Maybe a Range Rover. Now, in terms of paperwork on the McLaren, this is the part of the video where you should be considering buying this, because I think it just speaks for itself. It's had 5 former keepers. The current owner, he actually purchased it in September 2022. Throughout its lifetime, this McLaren has always been maintained under warranty and serviced by McLaren. And I think it's a bit of a rarity to actually find a car, especially such low mileage, to be taken to McLaren every single year. And I'll take you through each service. But this is the guide for the Iris user system there. This is now the service book. So the first service was done at 1,906 miles in 2018, because the vehicle was registered first in 2017. To be precise, it was registered in January 2017. So in January 2018, it's had its first service. Then its second service in 2019 at 4,000 miles, as you can see. Third one in 2020 at 7,881 miles. Then 15,483 miles in 2021. And then in 2022 at 22,365 miles, it was serviced again. That's its 5th service. And that 6th service has not been stamped in the book, but there's a receipt for it, because our customer, when he took it down to get it serviced, forgot to take the book with him because he'd left it in the office. This is where it's had that big service where oil filter, cabin filter, engine plate, this is the oil, air filter, brake fluid, battery remote, drain plugs. There's a full-on breakdown here. That totals to £2,040. And then on top of this, it's had some works done under warranty, both horn sound and mute, require 2 new. That's done, as you can see, at 0 cost, under warranty. And the warranty was subsequently extended for another 12 months at a cost of £3,677. And on top of this, there's more paperwork, all from McLaren, just invoices from 2022 and 2020, 2021 and so forth. The car, for your peace of mind, it's fully HPI clear, all checks passed. In case you're wondering what the registration is, that's WX66HAE. So hopefully I've answered all of your questions. I mean, if you are looking for something well kept, in good condition, with a peace of mind, especially if you're buying a McLaren, look no further. Thank you for watching our video. One more time, don't forget to subscribe, and see you in future videos. Bye-bye.